Hello friends, and welcome back to my studio, or welcome if this is your first time joining me. So it is time for another under 1,000 collab, and for today's brief it is a triple straight or ring pour. So I have a 24 by 36 inch canvas prepped and ready to go here. My intention is to leave some negative space, so I've got some really pretty spring colors here. I don't do a lot with pastels, but the group was kind of going towards that spring sort of vibe. So yeah, I will bring you in, I'll show you my colors, and then we'll get started. Thank you so much for joining me and all the other wonderful artists here today. Here we are with colors. For my flood coat, I've got some drip sower left over from another painting. I have emerald green from Soho mixed with extreme sheen emerald green. I've got some iridescent gold from Goldens. I have anthraquinone blue from Goldens also, and Payne's gray also from Goldens. Then from folk art, I have this flash blue, which is going to dry different than this. It's a color shift. And then I have sapphire from extreme sheen. And then this is my white mix, and I'll put that in the description below. There you go. So just bringing you down to the canvas here, I am going to go through most of this at a 2x speed. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a verbal walkthrough for you. I've got my colors here, and I didn't have my voice recording on of what I was using when, but I think you can see what's going on here pretty clearly. Generally, when I am doing multiple ring pours on one canvas, what I do is I stretch them out individually, and I like to get it to the point where it's not moving again. And this is a technique I learned from Kathleen Osmore from Cause Creations. And I like that because it gives you a little more control over each individual pour. But what I found was that I just wasn't really happy with the way that the composition of the painting was going. And you'll see here, I end up pouring a fourth cup over what was the second ring. And at the end, I feel like I'm not going to love the painting, so I get ready to scrape it. And before I scrape it, what I usually do is I kind of do just an extreme tilt and pour off as much of the paint as I can before I start scraping. And what happened was I kind of fell in love with what was going on with the colors at that point. Because everything got really overstretched a little bit, it ended up with this gorgeous watercolor sort of effect. And I looked at it for a while, and I decided that I really liked it. So what was going to be a scrape ended up being a save. And I think you'll agree that the colors on this and the kind of muted watercolor effect that I end up getting is really quite beautiful. And if you stick around until the end, you'll see that I do another canvas. I had just a little bit of paint left over. It wasn't quite enough that I wanted to save it, but it was also enough that I didn't want to toss it either, or just combine it into one thing. So I'm going to stop talking at this point. I'm going to put on a little music for you guys, and I hope that you enjoy this painting. Please feel free to ask any questions that you might have in the comment section below. I'm always happy to help out fellow artists. And please do stay tuned for the rest of the artists in this collaboration. I'm going to be followed by Tracy, and then I think we have 5 other artists in the lineup today. But I will put that lineup in the description below. So yeah, check everybody out, enjoy the painting, and have a beautiful day.
on the graves, in the cracks of 1,000 leaves, somewhere in between our past and our future, rolling over all the dividing things. Are you still listening? Want to be heard by you. Slow fall into the Indian Sea, where the cold and the hot meet, and the powers that be lead. When it's morning and my soul is clear, I look in the mirror and I see that love rolling over. You call me back to bed, I find myself again staring at the edge. Slow fall into the Indian Sea, where the cold and the hot meet, and the powers that be. I rise a child again, wake up a wild wind takes me there. I rise a child again, wake up a wild wind takes me there. Slow fall into the Indian Sea, where the cold and the hot meet, and the powers that be. I rise a child again, I wake up a wild wind takes me there.
Here's a quick little wet walkthrough. I'm really happy I didn't give up on this. I obviously didn't end up with the amount of negative space that I was hoping to, but I'm really loving how these colors turned out. You get that faint kind of purpley violet color from the anthraquinone blue. I love how that feathered out. Little hints of green. Loving the cloud effect. Overall, I'm really happy with this. It has a very watery springtime sort of vibe. So I will try to give you some dry results too. So just a little bit about what's going on here. That big puddle that you just saw me pour for my background color was all of the drips that I had scraped up from the previous painting, and I just did a quick strain of them and then threw them on the canvas to create this painting. And I'm not showing you the cups for this because it was exactly the same as the last one. The only thing I changed out is I used some champagne gold instead of the iridescent gold for this one. And I was intending on doing a very similar sort of composition as the last one, of going kind of all using the whole canvas. But once I started stretching it out, I kind of liked the way the individual pieces were looking, and it kind of reminded me of spring flowers, kind of like crocuses or something along those lines, kind of just popping up before the blooms burst open. So I ended up just pouring as much of the paint off of the bottom of the canvas as I could, so that I could get that washed out watercolor effect without losing that composition. So yeah, here we are. Again, thank you so much for joining me today for this video, and hopefully for the rest of the collaboration. We as artists can't tell you how much we appreciate your support and how much it means to us when you watch our videos and leave comments, and just something as simple as a thumbs up really helps us out and encourages us to keep going. So thank you for being here, and yeah, enjoy. Here we are with the dried results. Really happy with how this turned out. I love how kind of muted watercolor look it got. Look at that. That's just stunning. And this violet color is actually the anthraquinone blue. Shows up very different on canvas. Love this. Pretty hints of green for spring. Yeah, so glad I didn't give up on this. And here's the other one. It's still wet, so I had to leave it laying flat, but I wanted to get it outside. Again, just kind of a really pretty watercolor sort of effect here. Just loving it. Thank you so much for joining us today in this collaboration, and I hope you enjoyed it and stick around for the rest of the fantastic artists.